1 billion. Now, as you can see, members, indeed, that is an ambitious target that we are having. And definitely, without your support, we will not be able to achieve these numbers. So operational efficiency, definitely managing our costs, and in terms of governance and risk, putting effective measures to ensure that your money is safe. Now, with such an ambitious strategy, the members gave us the mandate during the AGM that we held to actually start what we are calling a rebranding process. So maybe just to introduce the topic, I know we shared this through various communications, but to match our ambitious strategy, as well as to propel the growth that we are looking at, the SACCO is going to undergo a rebranding process. So what I have actually just laid out is the process of where we are. So following the AGM, we did engage the members in terms of this decision to allow us actually start the rebranding process with the aim of being bigger and better in the market. We have also faced a few challenges and limitations, I can say, with the name, whereby we've had some misconceptions with the name itself, in terms of, let's say, we are people who are not dealing with land, but anything that falls, people dealing with land becomes now the fault of the SACCO. Other than that, we also have the parent company expanding, that is Safaricom itself, into financial services. So facing some form of in competition. Hence now us looking to be bigger, go beyond the current number, definitely achieving the 70,000. We don't want members to start. We have actually new members who say, oh, so you mean Safaricom, you can also take me who is not an employee. So we are looking at actually various perspectives, and most importantly is to match our numbers as per the strategy. So with that resolution, now we have been engaging members in what we are calling the understanding phase. So here we are talking to focus groups who I can say are our bonds, our constitutions. As I earlier began the presentation, we have various institutions are represented within the SACCO. So we are coming to you to just have the conversation. Again, rebranding is a transformation from us, the members who hold stake in this society. We want to get your opinion of how do you envision the SACCO being in future. We want to shape that future with you so that we work hand in hand and in tandem in line with the strategy. So we are going to have various focus group sessions, both for the common bonds and for the individual members. I know we had set one for the individual members on a particular Saturday, and we postponed the same. So we will be communicating fresh dates as early as next week so that you can be able to calendar the same, to pencil the same in your calendars, and we can be able to engage and actually give suggestions, give input of how we would like our SACCO to be. So that is what we are calling the understanding stage, whereby we want to make sure that we work with each and every member during this rebranding process. Then after that, we are going to the brand architecture. We're just looking at brand guidelines. We are going to go to the business process change in terms of the customer processes, in terms of our outlook, how we will be. Just to mention, with the rebranding, yes, to match the new strategy, but pretty much in terms of systems and processes, those will still be the same. In terms of maybe visual design, what you will be seeing is a different logo, different marketing collaterals, as well as definitely the name. And then from there, we will be having the implementation stage. So that is just a brief of the rebranding process. And as my docket entails, we are the people who actually develop products for you. We market these products. We get to hear your views in terms of how we can improve. And going by the same, we were able to increase actually our Fanikisha loan. It was previously at 84 months. Now it is at the longest period, 96 months. You can get the same at ×5 your savings. We also reviewed the development loan. I believe you all knew it was at 72. Now we are doing it at 84 months, ×4 your savings. We have the short-term loans that are processed within the day. Our long-term loans, we are also looking at improving our SLA, at least to work within a maximum of 3 days and even less. Our mortgages keep on improving. Up to now, you can access 10.5 million under our Faraji loan. And then this money, you can access up to 10 times your savings. Here, what you're saying is you can have your Fanikisha loan on one hand and you can have your mortgage on the other hand. So it's very affordable, up to 10.5. You do it at 8% per annum. If you're constructing, then it's at 9%, and then payable up to 25 years, subject to your retirement age. So with that, I would like to thank you. Any questions can be on the Q&A or the chat section. We will be able to answer the same. And without any further ado, I think Anne has come up to tell me time's up. I would like to welcome Moran Capital. Thank you.
Great. Wonderful, Anita. Thank you. We'll now welcome Alex.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Anita and team. That was a very comprehensive discussion on what's on offer. And thank you for even giving us the time this afternoon again to share what we believe. Last time we had a very riveting conversation on financial wellness, and today we are just moving to the next installation. Just a second, I just try to remove a blur on top here. We'll be able to move to our next installation, in which we ensure that you have been placed in that good position that as the institution looks towards ensuring that you have a very good way of managing your resources, because I've had mortgages at 10 million and other good conversations there. That's fantastic. Congratulations to the team. I will, without much further ado, because the time has gone, just take you through one of those conversations. What is SASRA? SACCO Savings Regulation Authority. But I'm sure that question, Anita, will also pick it up. Let me go into the discussion on budgeting. I know it's one of those conversations that everybody has had because you're in a corporate setting. I'm sure you have been able to pick it up, but wondered how exactly does it apply to me? It's a very good tool, but let's go straight into the conversation so that we pick up the relevance from there. In terms of just a background, I would just say, who are we? Moran Capital. I'm sure some may not have engaged with us before. We are a wealth management firm licensed by ICIFA, the Institute of Certified Investment and Financial Analysts, essentially, and also the IRA. The point of it being that you're a verified institution. And the point of our operation is we are a family office. We help a lot of people, a lot of our clients to be able to align their investments to their goals to create a sustainable wealth strategy, so that you can meet generational wealth plans. And why is that important? Of course, it's important because it's a key aspect of having wellness financially. And we are very interested in having this conversation with the team in the SACCO, because the resources which are availed then can help you plug areas of your budget or leverage areas that you feel there is a gap and you want to grow, you want to meet that gap. So it's good to have a good disciplined way of managing the resources. And that's why we come in, we help individuals understand the various aspects and what exactly they should give some thought to. I have a team of qualified individuals. We work with various people who've been in the industry, giving consultancy, whether it's in real estate, whether it is in stock trading, whether it is in succession planning. Our teams are able to provide advisory in this, whether it's in risk management, to ensure that you are, completely covered when you are trying to think of all the facets that come into play when building wealth successfully and sustaining that wealth. Going into today's conversation, I definitely have an image here, which a lot of you, especially those in Kenya or Dubai, would resonate with. We are having floods the world over, but, floods are an interesting scenario. The last time, about 2 years ago, we were dealing with drought, very severe drought. I was in Kajiado, and wildlife was heavily impacted because there was no water. Now, this circumstance we are facing is one in which we have a lot of water, and you can see the devastation it's causing all over Nairobi. But budgeting is one of those realizations that's a tool that can either channel water to where you need it. The image there below. As you can see, some people are doing what you call furrow irrigation. That's directing where the water should go, and therefore it's beneficial. Or you have a flood, resources come in. I think there's somebody who's going to mute because their movement is very obvious to everyone. You might be walking around the home. But the point is that the resources could come in and leave just the way water leaves most farms in Kenya, dry and desolate. Yet it was a flood at one time, but you never planned for it. So this conversation is really budgeting for success. And, it's not just a conversation of measly coins. Most people may think that we are talking of budgeting building from measly coins. I got some statistics here just to trickle some thinking. Globally, of course, and reviewing the information which is available, it's expected that by 2045, some generations will receive about $84 trillion. Now, this significant wealth that is going to be left by the generations ahead to the various other generations. Baby boomers, those guys from 1946, will receive some random $4 trillion. Others will receive 30 trillion, Gen X, where I fall into. Millennials will receive about $27 trillion, and Gen Z will receive about $11 trillion. Now, that money could just come and be like that flood we are talking about. It can leave, or it can flood you. But the point is, how well prepared are you for it? Or in the case where you are facing a desert, then we can figure what is the purpose of budgeting. But plainly, the point of budgeting really is to plan your spending. It's be able to look at when the resources come, where are they going to go to? That means you show the importance of what you value by directing the resources there. So you plan your spending. It's also a tool for decision making. It helps you think, should I do some things now or should I do some things later, and how much later? Resources are finite. That means, there's just enough, just about enough. And therefore, you've got to figure, how do I allocate the resources that I don't have enough to spend for everything I need? And I don't have to spend all of it now. So how can I make sure that I am in control? And controlling and monitoring where your money is going is very important. A lot of people find that there is more months to the money. So they always wonder, where is my money going? And the question is, who is better placed to know where it is going than yourself, and decide whether that's where you want it to go. You also want to improve your financial situation. because budgeting can allow you to say, this is what is available to me. Do I need to leverage from the circle, or do I need to save in order to improve my financial situation? So those decisions on how to improve your financial situations, that means whether you're going to save because you have a surplus, or you need to leverage because you have a deficit. Those things are very important to know. Where am I? So that we are able to deal with the next item here, which is saving for the money for your goals and dreams. Now, we will find that a lot of people don't itemize their goals in currency value. They are not denominating what exactly is the value of your goal. So if you're going to build a house, you're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy a business, how much is it exactly? If you're going to travel annually, how much is it exactly, so that you can save or invest towards it? A lot of people just have dreams, but they are not tangible. They are not smart dreams where you have specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So their dreams are just dreams which are articulated in, knee-jerk reactions. I like that car, I would like to buy. I like that house, I would like to buy. But there's actually no tangible financial plan towards acquiring it. So a budget will help you identify which areas are leaking the boat. You might find you're sinking all the time, but you need to find out which hole is sinking the boat. And essentially, we use the budget as a way to figure where are these uncontrolled costs. I hear somebody, a good friend, was measuring just how much they consume when they stop at the gas station to buy random snacks. And he found that he spends about 20,000 a month. And 20,000 is a significant amount, because that could help you leverage an amount of about 2 million shillings. So he's consuming what would help him build an asset of about 2 million shillings through random consumption, which he has not budgeted for. Every time he stops at a gas station, then he consumes. But I mean, it could be budgeted for so that you have accepted, that is what I do. It also helps you identify problem areas and facilitate effective solutions. That means there are areas like birthdays, you keep thinking about them, or others where you keep thinking about, but you've not found out what is the effective solution. Am I going to save, borrow? Am I going to invest? What exactly am I going to do? So you are able to identify which is this problem area. Maybe you find that you are always underfunded for school fees, or underfunded for your operational expenditure, or underfunded for something else. So exactly which is the problem area. If you look at your expenditure for school fees over the next 20 years, then you realize maybe you are underfunded, and it's a problem area because you did not budget for it fully and effectively. So if you do a full and effective budget, then you should not find you're struggling from school fees or other things, or being able to meet your holiday plans, because you are properly funded. And essentially, it's a means of measuring and recording your financial success. And this works so much towards your psychological well-being, your mental well-being, that you are being successful. And you're told small wins, get you across the line. So where have you been succeeding in financially? Or where have you been succeeding in your life? Or are you succeeding? So what is the means with which you will measure? And a budget is very important for that purpose. Now, what should a budget look like? Essentially, a budget should be flexible. Why should it be flexible? Because your circumstances keep changing. One day you are entry at the IT department, you're very smart, very quickly, in 2 years or 1 year, you've been promoted. And maybe where you are living, your expenditure was so much. Now you are next to, all the big shots. And you have to change your expenditure, where you go and have a, you have your sundowner, things will change. So you need to budget differently. You want to change the children, the school, because circumstances can change up or down. So it should be flexible to reflect the adjustments that you're going through. It should be well planned. essentially comprehensive and practical to all intents and purposes. You find that people imagine what is planned, but they don't know what is actual expenditure. So you should be sure that whatever you do in your budget, is this my planned expenditure or my actual or projected expenditure? People live sometimes in the future. So you start spending like you have achieved the goals that you wanted to financially, and you've been promised maybe a promotion, that it can come, or there's a bonus that can come, or circumstances could change, and you live like circumstances have changed. So the well-planned and practical means it should fit the current circumstances. So are you in that space? Are you tracking expenditure and your spending so that you can be sure you are spending in the regular areas, in the actual areas where you mean to spend, so that you are not finding resources are going to where you didn't need them to go. That means, of course, you need to find a budgeting app. I'm sure there are a dime a dozen. So you look at one of those. And the good thing is that once you are trying to track your spending, if you get into the habit, the moment you set the habit of doing it, you find it so much easier to track what's going on. It should have regular reviews. That means as often as possible, whatever I expected to happen, has it happened? And if it has not, what do I do? If it has, what do I do? And am I in line? Things change and people don't change. The underlying factors could change, and you don't change the expectations. So it should have a regular review. I keep saying that at the very least, a family should sit to have a budget review at a quarter of a calendar quarter interval, so that you are able to check what has changed, so that if circumstances, you find electricity has become more expensive, fuel has come down, maybe flour has come down, people have not changed their budgets. It's always budgeting up, but probably expenses have come down and you have not planned, therefore are not working around saving more or doing something else, making repayments faster. So you are supposed to review because circumstances change. You need to be sure that your accuracy in forecasting is very critical. Why? For example, people, when they forecast, they don't forecast inflation. So if you're planning to take your child, for example, to a nice school in Europe or Americas or Malaysia or Australia, wherever you want to go, South Africa, have you checked what the inflationary figures are, so that if you're budgeting for tuition, travel, maintenance, what exactly is the inflationary adjustment you need to give, so that at the time when you have planned to take the children there, or yourself, if you're going to study a course in any one of these universities, even here locally, have you adequately funded given inflationary changes? It should also include diverse plans. There should be plan 1, 2, and 3. If circumstances change, what do we do? Sometimes people don't know that, listen, maybe plan 1 meant I'm going to do it now. Plan 2 means, hey, I'm going to change that to the medium term or the longer term. So we can achieve the same goals, but change the timelines, so that you're not having, as a family counselor, I find a lot of times people have clashes because everybody expects their thing to be done now. If you change, then it feels like a personal attack. But you should have diverse plans, because everybody's goals should be carried, but they should understand in the household that plans can change and need to be ordered. So what we call wealth symmetry is creating a budget that everybody understands, has flexibility based on circumstances. If circumstances improve, we'll bring goals closer. If things become tighter, we move things away. If the budget is not able to contain our total consumption, do we change the brands we consume? You may still consume yogurt, but you may choose to change from a high end to a lower end. If you need to move around and your budget is tight, I could choose to, drive the 4-wheel, the SUV, or I could decide to change for a smaller version for the time being. It doesn't define you. It just says you have the frugality to survive the circumstance. So the importance of budgeting, obviously, while it can be overstated, I think it's understated. I have mentioned some ideas. Really, it's to help you value, and make the decisions on the go. That's very important. And for planning future courses of action, if things change, what do I do? It gives you control over your resources. That is the most important situation. I mean, if you are an institution and your resources are running amok, then you'll not be able to meet your budget expectations, because maybe you needed to do marketing, maybe you needed to do some change, overhaul the, some furniture and those kind of things. If you're not in control, you'll not be able to do those things. As an individual, maybe you needed to change your wardrobe. You'll not be able to do that, because if you're not in control of your finances, they'll be leaking somewhere, and what you are planning to do is not going to happen. It also ensures you can spend on what you can afford. It helps you prepare for emergencies, essentially making sure that, we'll talk about that in just a bit. And you'll also be able to kick out what areas are bad spending habits, because you might find that you are spending where you did not intend for your resources to go. At least when you see the volume of cash going there, you'll see that that is not exactly what you want. Now, why do people have a hard time managing a budget? Essentially, some of these factors, peer pressure. Folks want you to join some of the premium clubs. People want you to have a nice drink, which costs significant penny, or other issues which come from peers. They want you to travel to a nice, expensive location, and you don't have the courage to say, hey, you know what? Maldives is not on my budget for this year. I'll do it next year. So I can still do it, but I can, say I'll do it next year. So I still have the life I choose on my terms. A lot of people have, debts, which they get into just because of the convenience. But then they catch up with you because they must be paid over a long term. And they mess your budget over the long term. So a lot of indiscipline, because you are unable to control yourself, essentially because of your peers or because of debt, as well as emergencies. The way in Kenya, you are what you call your blood tax and those kind of things. Parents are in hospital, you don't have medical coverage for them, or you've not pushed them to actually get it, because they consider you are their fallback option. So you should be able to deal with emergencies by planning for them, and also not being in emergencies for others. There are people who will not even take funeral cover because other people will cover that obligation for them. So have you encouraged people to actually take things that reduce you hearing emergencies all the time? There are also many choices to make. You are thinking, okay, am I going to buy 65-inch, 85-inch, iPhone 15, 14? Am I going to buy new tires from Goodyear? Do I buy? I mean, there are so many choices that people have a hard time, and it seems like the more you spend, the better the quality. So there are so many choices that you may not know, or you find people struggle on which choice to make. There's so many family obligations and other factors that cause indecision because you've not been presented with that scenario and being told how to handle it. You find that it creates challenges. There are harambes, there are all these things that we do. So how exactly should I budget for the unseen events? So in essence, to create that budget, you start by looking at what are your contingencies. Make sure you create a budget for that. That means you have items relating to your family's security. So rent, mortgage, domestic expenditure, your insurance, maybe a redundancy cover, education costs. You need to be sure you know how much this is, because it's a given. Every year there are expenditures towards this direction, so you kind of know. Then there's operational expenditure, and this one we'll keep talking about it because it seems sometimes people get surprised when the car runs out of fuel. And yesterday, a friend of mine asked, what is the most, scary situation for you when it comes to finding out you have no money? And somebody says it's when I have fueled, and then I find out my card can't run the amount needed. And you ask yourself, how did this person not know? But it's so common, you are in the grocery store, and then you go to swipe at Carrefour or Quick Mart or Naivas, and when you're going to, and you have been standing in the queue for a while, you swipe your card, you find that there is no money. So how did you budget for your operational expenditure? Was it in the same account as your contingencies and your growth expenditure? Did you actually plan so that you know your fuel, your other domestic costs, dog food, I don't know, all the things that people do every month, your hair, your grooming, all your expenditure. Where is that money so that you know in the month, this is the card I use for this domestic expenditure, my operations. I don't touch contingencies, and it's not mixed with my growth budget. So growth is expenses related to investment for future that will grow to fund the other areas, so that if you are thinking of moving house, the growth portfolio will allow you to fund the operational expense of paying a mortgage or paying the construction of your house. So those expenses, education, business growth, travel, passive income for your retirement, are you budgeting for those things, and where is this money held? So to get that correct, obviously there's always a process, and we say success is a process. The process starts by looking at what is your actual total income expectation, and you look at your expectation versus your current. Then you list your expenses in various categories, so that you know the short-term expenditure, the long-term expenditure, the savings expenditure, and those kind of things, and determine the average cost for each of these. Of course, you can track it through the app, or you do it on a book, or you do it on Excel. You are able to track. And then set realistic goals of how much you want to spend on each of those elements. Now, this is the most difficult part, because when you look at your money, sometimes you feel like all of it should be in the short-term goals, what I want to do now. Then you look at what you want to do in the future. I want to have a house in Lamu, in London, and in Lagos. And you find that maybe your resources will not fit all that money, but you can plan which one do you buy first. So set the realistic goals of saying, I'm going to buy this one first, or I'm going to do this first. There is an order. And choose your budget strategy. Am I going to essentially reduce costs? That means cut out some of the things which are there. Or am I going to invest the money? No, so not just to save it. Am I going to invest so that it can grow and I'm able to fund my expenditure in the future? So what is your strategy? We call them, the strategy is one which is positive jaws. If you remember nothing from here, you should have positive jaws. That means you are either, reducing expenditure, or rather cutting cost, and that cost should, keep going down, or increasing income so that you are able to manage your budget. You should have positive jaws. What that means is that income should increase through savings and investment, and expenditure should reduce. And how are you going to reduce expenditure? Either by cutting out some of the items, or figuring how to reallocate them. Reallocate them by saying, I am going to do them in the future, or I'm going to change the actual expenditure. That's what I was saying. By, do I move house? Do I buy less car? Or do I buy a diesel, or I don't know, hybrid, electric? I will save on fuel. Ask yourself those questions of, how do I reduce expenditure, or how do I increase income? So what is your strategy to grow, to manage your budget? Adjust your habits accordingly. If you are currently having a situation where you need to adjust short-term costs to be able to manage the situation currently, as you look at how you adjust for the future, because you have prioritized what is important. Automate your savings and investments. That means go to the bank and once you have decided I am going to fund education or I'm going to fund my house through savings and investment, go to the bank and direct them to do what you call a standing order or a direct debit into your investment, so that by force, by fire, when the money hits your account, that goes straight into saving. And that is what we call forced thrift. It will force you to grow by making that one decision to invest or save automatically. And then track your progress so that you can give yourself a pat on the back when you are able to see the success you've made. So that is the process. And what we do is that we can work with you. You can talk to us to be able to look at your budget and see how we can help, because we have various tools such as this one, very simplified, to help you budget for your short-term goals, your medium-term goals, and your longer-term goals, as well as knowing what are they in shilling value or in dollar value or in euro or yen, whichever currency we can help you think about them. We will have a very reflective conversation and we will come up with what is the strategy. We will look at where are you putting your money. A lot of people don't know they spend a lot of money on holidays and you don't know when you're going to do the next international holiday. How much are you going to spend? Since you do that maybe annually, how much do you spend? If you don't do and you plan to do it, who are you talking to figure how much exactly does this cost? If it is talking of food, it includes things like birthdays. You know, do you budget for birthdays or do they come up as a surprise and then it is stressful? So this is a comprehensive budget. We look at even the gardener. We look at pets. You look at your personal care. There are people who have medical conditions that require them to keep on doing treatments and those kind of things. How much is that? Because sometimes you find a clash in the family because not everybody knows why are you always asking for money. And you never know when the money comes to an end. Therefore, there's a lot of stress in the household because people don't know, has the money come to an end? And at which point are we sure that even though it comes to an end, we have taken care of all our obligations? We have saved, we have put away money for expenditure, we have met our regular investments and those kind of things. Even when you have a savings portfolio, you must know exactly what it is achieving so that you can have expended in total and where is every one of my shillings going. So if you have SACCOs and you have Safaricom SACCO, definitely I put this money here. It is not a surprise, so that 10 years later, you have no clue where your money has been going. It is within your budget. And then we can say, what is it for? It can help you leverage something, buy yourself a home or do other great things that we see people doing with the SACCO. And that is very commendable. So those basic components to budgeting, which are important, essentially categorize them, understand what is your income. Very, very important to be clear. Sometimes people, I have seen, I have a client who, not one, several, who have not touched their salaries in maybe a couple of years, and they don't know what it can actually do because, they've got a spouse taking care of the budget. But then when there's a shock, that's when they go and start asking, oh my goodness, maybe look at what is my income. And then they realize they'd have done so much more given their income. They'd have been able to put up buildings, and we have helped them do that. And they'd have been able to invest in some significant areas, and they'd be living off just the passive income. So you need to know what is your income very, very carefully from all the investments and be able to value, am I getting optimal value for whatever I have invested in or my own time as if I am employed? So some people don't have clarification on what is actually their total income or even what's their desired income so that they can manage their expenditure. You want to know which are the fixed expenses because those are the ones that you may not get rid of despite changes in the household. You must eat, pay for heating or electricity, utilities. You must, there are some fixed expenditures no matter where you are in the world. So what are those fixed expenditure? Because you must provide for them. Then you have flexible expenses, whether you go for holiday in whichever country, or do you do a local trip. You must know, okay, I will travel, what is the expenditure? Or I will build, am I going to, use grade A or grade B or grade C? I mean, that is a flexible decision. I will still enter a house. And then there are unplanned expenses. What happens to friends and relatives? Can I control that space so that it doesn't just mess my space? So I normally say put a budget even for the unplanned expenses. Just say that, listen, if there are some out of my space emergencies, I will spend a maximum of 5 or 10% of my income, because I have to meet current and future obligations. And I keep saying no one is coming to save you. Should be a good reminder that you are the one who's responsible of taking care of your circumstances. So before you expend everything and hope somebody will step in, just have that clarity that no one is coming to save you, and it will help you to understand, then, can I take care of myself so that even if I'm helping somebody, I have completely taken care of myself to be able to help them even tomorrow. There are 3 types of budgets, essentially. And those are, at the end, you'll find either you have a surplus. So it will tell you your revenue largely exceeds expenses. And that means maybe you can expand, change your lifestyle, or you can increase your investments. So that's a good space to be in. Even countries, there are not too many, but I'm sure there are some, you are Norway and other people who have tried to give people an extra budget in welfare. There are a lot of people who have a surplus budget. There are balanced budgets where you find the income and the revenue are matched. And that means, you're just being able to meet your obligations. And then there is a deficit budget. Now, depending on where you are, because, for a deficit budget, it means your expenses have exceeded your income. It is good to know where you are. Then it helps to develop a strategy for where do you go from here. And also being comfortable to know that is exactly where you are. And when we sit down and have a conversation, then you will know exactly where are you and what should you do from where you are. So the advantages, obviously, of budgeting and a successful budget is you manage your money successfully, effectively. You are able to allocate resources to where you needed them to go. You know your goals and you can fund them. That's very important. Don't fund other people's goals. You are able to track your expenditure. You know where every penny has gone and achieve your goals. More importantly, it will help you ask yourself, what are my goals anyway? And then, because some people don't know what are their goals, so they just spend. And that is a fact. It will help you improve your decision-making. Should I buy these clothes now, or should I buy them in the future? Should I buy this vehicle? That question will be asked by a budget, and you are able to identify problems before they occur. You know that if I do this, I need to raise financing to meet that deficit so that I don't take resources and suffer unnecessarily. And you're able to plan for the future, like which school will the kids go to, the children? Where will they go to? Where will we live? Which kind of house? How many bedroom am I looking for? All that information. And if you want to live in a 7-bedroom house, 2-bedroom house, a 1-bedroom house, you want to be a tenant or a landlord, all those factors can be dealt with by budgeting and looking at what surplus or deficit exists and what do we do so that it's able to meet that objective. And in a conclusion, it will increase your motivation, because then you know where can I get to if I put my mind to it. And I have realized that, myself and my spouse, we set these goals around about 2003, and we thought it would be something that would take about 20 years. And we find that a lot of the goals that we were working around, in 10 years, we had achieved them and exceeded them. And it was very shocking. And it's not because of genius. It was purely because somebody put their foot down and we said, listen, this is where we are going to direct resources. After that, we can grow to wherever you want to grow to. And it helps a lot to just have that budget and see whether you've been successful And when you are on the path, it is very motivating to see you are getting to where you want to go. So some of the budgeting issues that come up, obviously, are being inaccurate and unrealistic. And some are just financial. There are no, budgets for also time. You don't budget with time in mind. So everybody budgets just the money, but also the time. Can I budget for this to be done later? Is a very important space. Don't leave it inflexible that things change and you can't change. You're fighting and saying, I must do this and I must do it now. The greatest wisdom, one of my previous managers said is, Alex, start with a Vitz, you'll get to a Range Rover. If you start with a Range Rover, you find that maybe even a bicycle you'll not ride, because the cost of that will have taken away all your resources, including your house. It's not that the Range Rover is bad, but in terms of being able to forecast, start somewhere and work towards something you can sustain. And people think it's time consuming, but I keep saying, do it once and plan for it. If you sit and say, I'll look at these numbers once a quarter or on Thursday, the last Thursday of the week, and I'll take the family, we go and discuss it. It will be a good outing for us to all discuss what we think and how we manage. It doesn't have to be time consuming. You just have to plan for it. So to everyone here, thank you very much. And I hope to take some questions. We've just gone 5 minutes over. Apologies for the 5 minutes extra, but I hope we've been able to catch up on time, and that has been useful for everybody. So thank you. Maybe some questions. I would like to give it back to the team to just let us know if there are some items that you may have been tickled by, and maybe they have come up in the chat or in the Q&A as we were going. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for such an elaborate process and conversation. I'm very sure our members are now well equipped. We've learned a lot today. We've learned budgeting process. So just before we finish, we'd like to give you an opportunity to answer some questions. So members, if you have any question, you can type them at the Q&A section. I'll just go through some of them that we've not answered so that I can read them out to you, Alex.
Okay.
Okay. The first one, the difference between passive and active income. I'll read 3, then you can answer. The difference between passive and active income. Number 2, I know this is not, someone is saying, I know this is not related to the topic of the webinar, but a follow-up question asked by one of the members. What is the loan? Okay, this is Corner Advance. I will answer this. Should one budget for money that WhatsApp groups impromptu request for, or should we snap them? I think that's about black tax. You'll answer that in your own way. What are some of the apps that you recommend to track expenditures? Then will the budgeting template be shared? Yes, this one I'll just, we usually share these recordings, and you can also go to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to watch it from there. But yes, we will share this tomorrow so that you can go through it again. Should contingent operations and growth funds be in separate accounts? So Alex, you can answer those ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll in order, passive versus active income. Passive income is a strategy in which you have, well, let me start the other way. Active income is essentially a space where you have yourself actively involved, or rather removing the word actively, yourself, you are involved in the process of generating that income on a day-to-day basis. So you are on top of it. Either you are employed or you are in business and you are at the desk at the shop. You are like Tiger Woods. You have to be on the green for you to make money. That means you are actively involved in generating the income. Now that, as I've said, is you are employed, so you have your 9 to 5, or depending on where you are in management, it could be 9 to 9, depending on your employment structure, or you are, running your business. That means everything is up to you. And the performance and performance evaluation and the sales and everything is up to you. When you come to passive income, you are obviously sitting in a space where you are not involved in the day-to-day activities required to generate the resources. That means I could have invested in a treasury security, in a bond, or in a corporate instrument. I have bought a portfolio of shares, and therefore the underlying investments and the people who are employed there, and as long as I have evaluated it, there are people who are able to manage and deliver what I expect. That is passive. I mean, I'm not there all the time. So like we provide investors opportunities, whether it is through various investments. We could show you properties that need to be bought. You go to the circle, you buy, and you generate the rent. So that's a passive strategy versus one in which you are actively involved in searching and looking at what exactly is the opportunity and monitoring it every day. So passive income means you're not involved every day, but I've invested and I have an expectation and I'm able to review on a certain timeline so that I'm able to check, are we going towards my goal, even as you're managing. So that involves investing in fund managers and investing in various securities, or even private equity, where you are a financial investor in somebody's business. So you're not there actively, but they have, through various instruments, given you security that they'll be able to perform. So that's the first space. For active versus passive is where you are involved and not involved, but you expect a return out of it. Budgeting for WhatsApp groups, I said those are emergencies. They may be obviously useful because, I mean, somewhere, we have a school group, I was in Nairobi school. So I find, the people we are always raising for one or the other reason. But that's because the whole population has not yet taken a cover for their parents. So every time somebody loses a parent or in other groups, there will be a request to put in something. But that's because they have not taken up a structure which has the kind of, instruments that can pay for the kind of emergencies we have. So there's a general direction towards guiding people to have good instruments, covers that can help them cover those kind of situations, from insurance companies, what you call funeral covers. We talk of medical, we tell them take an NHIF, but all in all, you may not cover everything. So we normally say budget for about 5%, because maybe this is more of Africa. Everybody expects you to come to the table. In the developed markets, they have a welfare system and it's very efficient. Take care of yourself. So it's not such a major issue, but in our market here, maybe it's something to think about. But control the expenditure by putting a maximum that and if I don't spend it this month, I roll it over. Maybe one day it will be enough. I can create a foundation. Maybe you can do the same thing, which can help a certain objective. So yes, budget for it, because we may not be able to walk away from it. Apps for expenditure. Now, these are a dime a dozen. I'm sure people here can mention some. I see a Home Budget, PocketSmith. There are so many. Depends on your choice. If you go to your App Store or you go to your Google Store, you'll find a lot of those apps. Look at the one that fits your style, because some are fairly complex, some are simple and easy to use. Tracking is simple. You can even download it into a spreadsheet or upload. So there are some, as I've mentioned, we use, and I see our clients using depending on their taste and their own personality. So those are some, the Home Budget, the Pocketsmith. There are so many, I may not remember all of them now. And I'm not promoting any particularly that I am involved in, but I see our clients just looking at them. Then there is the budget template. Yes, will be shared. And if you need to just catch up and figure how to work around your numbers, we can do that at your own time. The contacts, I'm sure, will be shared there. We are available to just walk you through what the template requires for you to do. But obviously to also be available on the YouTube channels and also the other spaces. Now, should cash be in different buckets? Yes, it should. Because what happens is, like, you find that sometimes I need to spend to build the house. And then somebody has called me, or I'm doing something else, repairing the vehicle. And if the budget goes slightly above, I find that maybe there is a temptation to reach out for the other. It means my budget was not very active. I should be able to say, you know what, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll plan. These are planning tools. They may not be 100% all the time, but the ideal is keep the resources separate, because contingency should be such that it's break glass when there's a fire. Because the temptation is to say, iyo pesa hatujatumia, we have not used those resources for the last 3 years. There's been no emergency. For some reason, the world just conspires exactly when you touch that money. And I have suffered that situation several, until I learned that don't do that for various reasons, because you're going to be caught up when you really need it. So yes, separate the resources into different buckets, or into different accounts, so that you are very clear, this one is for this purpose and this one is for this purpose. Now, the point of it is also, if you are found expending growth budget, then nobody is asking many questions. Why did the Safaricom share? Why did the equity share? Why did this other one? As long as it's not this year's expenditure, then I can wait, or I can change my strategy comfortably. But if I planned to pay school fees this year based on shares, unless now, like since January to now, I think have seen like your share there has grown, and some in the stock market almost by 30%. Now, some people have not looked and decided, hey, I need to sell. Maybe they are paying school fees next week. But that can't be a sustainable strategy, because you can't determine what the market does. So make sure when it's those kind of resources that pay fixed expenses, they should be in some very, very secure, regular income environment, while those for growth are separated and put in other environments. So that is a point that maybe I would like to take into that conversation. I see, thank you, Anne, for the photo was, on point. Yes, I did think that it's the same scenario, but there's a challenge of budgeting with your spouse and sharing secrets. Now, the secrets are the problem, because you may be doing what we call a double allocation. Maybe the point is to say, can we sit down and agree first before we decide how much money I have and I put it on the table? Can we agree how much we actually plan to spend on these things, so that, we agree, and when I have agreed, we can then put our resources on the table. I know very well that this COG helps a lot of families finally understand why, even though we put our resources together, we have strictly agreed. Contingencies fall in a certain account. You can even say this one is in this bank, and I maintain the checkbook, so that we are clear, because nothing can be more stressful than finding out your partner had the resources to pay for school fees, and the child was kicked out of school while you were very busy keeping resources because you wanted to travel internationally. Now, that would just be worse than having an argument of whether we should spend it on school fees. So the point is, put it on the table, strengthen yourself and say, let me tell you, we need to control these resources. But I am happy to hear what are these things you want to spend money on and what do I want to spend money on. And before we agree to put the money, let's agree on the plan. And that helps a lot of families remove the major collisions that happen because we have not allocated. Therefore, I don't know whether the money you have is allocated to school fees, or is it for house, or is it for the hanye, the party? What is it for? Have a conversation, have a tool that will help you have that conversation. If you don't, come to us. We are able to handle that situation and help you. Every quarter, we sit down and say, where are you? And because we are professionals, we will not struggle too much saying that there's indiscipline here. If there is indiscipline, we'll call it out and say, listen, you have goals. You want to make $1 million in the future. This particular habit will stop you getting there. And is that goal, eventual goal, important to you? If it is, then let's stick to it. So there are ways of handling conversations without sounding adversarial and disrespectful. So we can help you with that. I see you're asking about a loan to grow a business. I think, there are various ways to do that. And the team here can tell you about those options, as well as reviewing which business are you and where is it. Loans are given on the basis of cash flow, but I guess the team here will also help you with that information. I think I was just picking up some questions over there or some comments. I hope, to be on time, so the team can let me know whether we can hold at that point, or are there questions which I have not been able to address in the meantime.
I think you have answered almost all of them. Okay. So we have 2 questions that I will handle. Then we can call it a day. So there's someone asking about corner loan repayment. So corner loan is, you can repay corner loan within 3 months. So the first month, there's an interest of 3%, which is charged upfront. Then the second month, we charge an interest of 3%, which is now added onto the loan balance. Then the third month, there's an interest of 5%, which again will be added on the loan balance. That is if you have not paid. So basically, we just allowed you to have 3 months for repaying the corner, but you are supposed to pay it within month. So the reason why we have 3 months is to give you time in case you took a bigger loan or a bigger corner loan. So then you have 3 months to clear it, but there will be interest charged on that loan. So you can decide to pay it within the first month, where the interest is 3% and charged upfront, or pay it within the second month, where there's another 3%. So you have the liberty to choose you want to pay it within how many months, so that you're not charged those interests. Then another question, someone is asking how to apply for a loan. I just need to understand about application for loans. Do someone need guarantors for loan application? Yes, you will need guarantors. It depends. You will need guarantor in any time you're applying for a loan that is 2 or 3 times. Anytime you're applying for a loan that is over and above what you have saved, you will need a guarantor. But if you're applying within what you have saved, probably up to 95%, which is the amount we give without a guarantor. So that is the process. And then you have answered about the apps. Someone is asking how diaspora people can access KMRC loans. What are the requirements and the process? If you can explain a little, please. Can we have the KMRC and the same time the Faraji or Ustawi? Okay, KMRC stands for Kenya Mortgage Refinance Corporation. So that's our partner when, as far as affordable housing is concerned. So this mortgage is divided into two. We have Faraji for construction and for ready units. And we also have our very own called Ustawi. So you can have mortgage one at a time. You can't have two running at the same time. So you can decide to have the affordable housing, or you can go for the one that our own, which is Ustawi. So Faraji, we have the one for construction. The interest is 9%, and for ready unit, the interest is 8%. We finance 105%, and you can access up to 10.5 million for both. Maximum repayment period is 25 years, depending on your age at the point of application. And those who are in business, we give up to 10 years, again, depending on your retirement age. So those are the differences between Faraji for construction and for ready units. And with that, we want to call it a day. Thank you very much, Alex. So just to recap on what we've learned today, we are still on financial wellness, which today we were handling budgeting for success or budget. So we have learned the process of budgeting. The template we will share. We have advantages, we have disadvantages of budgeting. We also have how you can handle surplus in case you've done your budget and you have some surplus. We've been taken through on how you can handle the surplus, the deficit, and anything budgeting, and even how you can handle your budget as a family. So thank you very much, Alex. Alex has given his email address. It's at the chat section. You can pick it up from there, even phone number. And when we'll be sharing this conversation or this recording, we shall also share contact for Moran Capital. And if you are interested in engaging them further, you can leave your details on that link we will share tomorrow so that they can handle your financial wellness or issues at a personal level. And we hope you will be successful in this, and this will take you further as far as financial wellness is concerned. So thank you very much, members, for joining us today. Until next time, please, when we have such meetings, invite your friends, your colleagues, and the new prospects, those who would like to join the circle, so that we can grow and learn together. Thank you. Unless, Alex, you have something to say. Bye-bye. Until next time.
Wishing everybody safety from the floods. Be safe.
Yes, we wish you. By the way, we wish you safety. Be cautious of your environment. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you have joined the call from.
Thank you.